Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of A Song of Laugh and Death, a Game of Thrones review podcast by the Laugh and Death podcast.
Hey.
Today we're going over Season 2, a little bit of Season 1, touching back on it. We're going to go over spoilers, theories, stuff like that from those two seasons. We're not going to cover Season 3, so don't worry about spoilers in the upcoming seasons. David, what do you have for us today?
So, Season 2 premiered on April 1st, 2012, which is my birthday, April 1st. Filming took place over 106 shooting days. During 3 quarters of those days, they had 2 crews, codenamed Dragon and Wolf, which were working simultaneously in different locations.
Was there separated by Daenerys scenes and
I believe
Robb Stark scenes and stuff?
Yeah, like the North, Essos and Westeros. So the budget was estimated at $73 million, with each episode ranging anywhere from $6 to $8 million each. Season's one budget was $60 million, like I said at the beginning of the last podcast. And Season 2 was based off A Clash of Kings, which is Book 2, and a few early chapters of A Storm of Swords, which is Book 3. And just some housekeeping. We fact-checked ourselves from the last episode, and a few corrections are that the date of Game of Thrones premiered was April 17th of 2011, not 2009. And one weapon of note that we forgot to mention in the last episode was ice, which one was said at the very end, and I missed it, which is Ned Stark's great sword, which is his the house sword, right?
Right. The Stark's ancestral Valyrian steel sword, which most houses have one. Most great houses have one.
Yes. Okay, cool. So what were y'all's overall impressions? I guess we'll start with Alex over Season 2.
I remember you saying that a lot of people were saying that Season 2 was one of the best seasons in the whole thing. And it was a great season. It took me through a lot of emotions, mainly because of relationships. One, because I think the person who stood out to me the most was, of course, Tyrion, where his relationship, and then his relationship with Shay, and then his relationship with his family and his father, just so much gets taken out of him, and he's putting so much effort, right? And I don't know, it just it just makes you feel for him. And not to say that that's just the whole season just about him, but I really grabbed on to Tyrion, and every time he came out in any scene, I was just waiting to listen to what he was gonna say, or because I really like the character and the actor and everything. But I guess those were my impressions, and also the fight scenes were awesome, the battle at Blackwater, which is in Season 2, correct?
Yes,
correct. Yes,
that was fantastic. It looked amazing. It looked really cool, and how they built the whole thing up with the what was the dragons, that's the fire made, that weapon that was made, wildfire, yeah, how they portrayed Cersei is the one that made them continue to make this wildfire, right? And they open that vault, and it's just
what the alchemist,
this endless thing of just this can go off at any second, or it was just so violent. It's just a violent thing, and it's just calm and tame in there. I'm just holy shit.
And then what's cool about that scene when the alchemist shows Cersei, that man, the actor, his name is Roy Dotrice. He's known to do 300 or 400 different acting voices. He does the audiobooks. So when you listen to him read the audiobooks, it is better than the show, dude. You get emotionally involved. He is so good. And you see this old decrepit man. He just passed away at a year and a half ago at 94. And he was, I think, Martin's friend. He was the one Martin picked to do the audiobooks. Dude, that's cool. So they gave him a spot on the show, and he was the alchemist. Yeah. So
that's cool. I haven't listened to the audiobooks, but I know you've been listening to him again.
Yeah, I've read them and I had the audiobooks.
And I've heard he does a different voice for all these characters, and a lot of people are just amazed on his ability to remember the voice he's made for each character. There's so many characters in the books, and he always goes back to that voice, on the drop of the dime when he's reading dialogue back and forth. And so
I love his intros to the books too. He'd be like, Catalan, or
Daenerys,
John. So good.
Stannis.
Quick facts at Thrones. George R.R. Martin penned the script for Blackwater, which is the episode 9, big epic battle.
Yeah.
In Blackwater. He said it was very difficult. Martin said, if you look at it from the books of Blackwater, it occupies 7 or 8 chapters, intercutting between 3 points of view. If you shoot it the way I wrote the book, it would cost $100 million and take 2 months to shoot, which is ridiculous. I can't even imagine how much detail there was just trying to portray the Battle of Blackwater.
My impressions of season 2, I think it is a good season, because they, along with the introducing like a bunch of different characters like Stannis and Melisandre, like and their relationship and like his whatever his beliefs are, and then Dany going through her struggle of becoming a queen. Like she wants gold and stuff, and she goes to the city of Karth, and where's it, Karth? Yeah. And they bring her in reluctantly after that guy vouches for her, and she sees how people are just using her to a certain extent, and just her realization that she has to be a killer sometimes, like just be strong and cold to get what she wants. And I think it kind of gives a lot of character to a bunch of characters, like Jon, like his whole thing with the wildlings and stuff, and having to
he had to hurt Corin half hand to prove himself.
Yeah, so stuff like that. I thought it was good. It gives you a lot of character behind other characters you haven't seen so much in season 1.
I want to touch back and say one more thing, that I mean, the whole show is constantly like a brewing happening, you know, like drama and shit. But season 2 was like, there was a lot of brewing for what was to come in Blackwater. And even when like the people of King's Landing see the explosion of like all the fire and all that, they're also kind of like, holy shit, like this is insane. This is violent. Like they were also kind of like, everybody was always kind of in awe, like, oh fuck. And then like there was like a pause there where they knew they had that weapon, but they kind of didn't know its power.
Yeah, they heard of it, they never saw one. It would be like us seeing a nuke. You know, like we've heard of it, but we've never seen one. Yeah. So it was like a medieval nuke.
Yeah, so like I like the whole brewing aspect, and then the massive explosion of the war and everything in that season.
For me, I have a romance with season 2 and book 2, because that's for me what starts the whole Song of Ice and Fire. That's when a lot of the mythology starts getting involved. See, you don't really get this in the TV show, but Daenerys is given 3 prophecies. There's the whole relationship with Melisandre and Stannis. My favorite relationship is Tyrion and Varys. Mm-hmm. I love when Tyrion's hand to the king. That is like the best.
Yeah.
He tricks Littlefinger, he tricks Varys, and he tricks Cersei. And the only one that appreciates his trickery is Varys. Yeah. Varys understands Tyrion better than anybody, and he believes in Tyrion.
Yeah.
And that's, for me, that was such a heartwarming moment in the books and in the show, because it's like, you know what, someone really gives a shit about this guy's brain, and it's Varys of all people, because he's one of the smartest people in the whole show, and book. Like, that MF knows everything, and he knows how to apply it. Plus, I love the House of the Undying, the Warlocks. There's a lot of detail I don't want to get into because it's book related and it doesn't go into the show, but they know what Dany is, and they want her, because in the books they trick her into all these different rooms, and she gets to a banquet, and it's a bunch of old decrepit like wizards. And they're telling her, like, stay with us. And there's, like, a blue glowing heart floating in the table. And every time it pulses, she starts getting more hypnotized. And it's her little dragon that eats and rips that heart apart and kills all the...
Oh, shit.
But, I mean, I want to do, like, a mysteries episode where we can just talk about all the crazy... Because they couldn't include into the TV show. It's just too much. It's literally too much information. That's why each novel is, like, some 1,000-something pages. But that's what makes A Song of Ice and Fire so good, because it's like heroin. He feeds you a little bit at a time just to get you to the next book, and it's so good. I mean, but yeah, that season 2 and book 2 is when I fell in love with the series.
So season 2 for me had a lot of highs and lows, like very low lows, and like me, I absolutely hated the entire Karth segment for Daenerys. I absolutely hated it. It was way too Twilight Zone for me. It was badly acted. The guy who plays the
Preet,
yes,
the little Daenerys,
him. I could not stand him.
Now looking back, I can see how you can feel that way.
I did not like it, and I also I'm sure we're gonna get into it later. I do not ship Jon Snow and Ingrid whatsoever.
You could eat.
I do not feel anything for them.
Why?
I do not feel like they truly like each other.
No?
I know they're married. Facts of Thrones out there. They're married in real life.
Oh shit!
Because they
They got married in real life.
That's awesome. Me and Rick were talking about who would you rate like the prettier women from the Game of Thrones, right? Like whatever whatever most attractive, and he had put Margery,
Yeah.
right? He put her up there, and then he put and then I was like, what about Ingrid? And he was like, no, I don't think she's cute enough. I'm like, I kind of have a weird, like, she's fucking attractive to me. I don't know why.
She's beautiful.
She's really pretty.
She has a like a very early like smoker's like voice, just like
Rachel Ray.
Jon Snow.
I love you, Jon Snow.
yes. Yeah, I really actually
Come into
like
the
their
cave with
relationship.
me.
Especially because she's real rough, and like she's a wildling. She doesn't, at least where she's like, the people she's around, they're just kind of like barbaric-ish, and they just kind of like get whatever they want, and they don't have to follow anybody.
Like it's just in season 2 with them and their chemistry. I didn't like it whatsoever. Maybe it's because I have a fear of dominant women who are like, "Oh, you want this pussy?" Like I don't like that shit. It's fucking
Stick it in me,
disgusting to
John.
Yeah,
Exactly.
stick it in me.
Is that your dagger poking me in the butt? Shut the fuck up. Like I hated it. I didn't ship it. Didn't like
I
it.
kind of have to agree with David. I honestly don't like the part when Jon Snow's in the north with the wildlings. I just don't. I'm not into it. I'm a
takes
son of a
way
bitch.
Too fucking long. It does.
I mean, why he does that, it's badass later, but I was never a fan of that whole walking in the snow.
Absolutely hated it. Well, on the high end, I loved what they did with Rob. I love how he like totally took over. I love everything they did with Tyrion. I absolutely loved everything that Tywin brought to the table. Tywin is amazing.
He is.
He's an amazing character, amazing actor. I didn't care for anything that was happening in Essos. Don't give a shit. Don't care. I don't like anything that's happening in the north. I hated Jon Snow this season. No, I didn't hate Jon Snow. I hated Ingrid and the Wild.
I think because this season, I think they took like a backseat to the story that was happening in King's Landing, because it's a lot of things that are happening with them preparing for the war, for like the battle, and Stannis preparing to get troops for his like army and stuff, and yeah. So I think it kind of took a backseat. They're just setting like this season was set up for other seasons for Daenerys and Jon Snow. At least I feel like. I
agree, and no, this is not a spoiler. I absolutely hate Daenerys' storyline from here until season 5.
Wow,
absolutely hate it. It's the same fucking story every season.
You cut my soul.
I hate it. I'm sorry.
Cut my soul, and that's what I love. I love Daenerys and Essos. But most people, believe it, book readers are like David. They don't like Essos. I love Essos. But then I loved Middle Eastern history and all that, like ancient history, so I could relate to it. But a lot of people feel like David, like, fuck Essos. Yeah. I love it.
So those were my highs and lows. It was an okay season. I every scene that Arya was in, or every scene that
Arya and Tywin,
those I'm sure we'll get into it as well later. I absolutely loved their conversations, and I loved the tension that they built when Littlefinger enters the room. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, go ahead, Fernie. I'm done with my impressions.
Okay, we're gonna take it a little bit episode by episode. If you guys want to interject at any time, go ahead. So we start season 2, expanding and solidifying something we learned in season 1. Joffrey's a fucking dick,
dude. He is the Darth Vader of this universe. He's the Anakin Skywalker of evil. He has all his stepbrothers and stepsisters murdered in the very first episode.
He doesn't give a fuck about them. Like, he doesn't know them.
He doesn't want to lose his right. He suspects that his parents, he's inbred. He suspects it.
Yeah. And because he says, like, anybody who spreads that rumor, I'm going to kill them or something. It's just like, I mean, if you didn't care, if you didn't, like, he was like, oh, that's just bullshit. Like, whatever. Like, you wouldn't care like this much, but he does.
But the fact that he's 14 years old in this,
14.
He's the same age as Sansa, like scary. 13 years old in this one.
Yeah, like like the first scene we see Joffrey and he's having people fight for him for his entertainment on his name day.
Sir Dantis.
And then that guy comes in drunk and he's he's just like, all right, you want to drink? Go ahead and drink.
Yeah.
And he just like basically force drink, like having him drink until he dies basically. But the Hound and Sansa kind of convince him to spare his life and make him a jester or something.
I love that scene with Sansa. She's all like, no, and he's like, what? He's like, oh, you shouldn't kill a man on your name day. And then the Hound, she's right.
Yeah.
You see the contrast between Sansa and Joffrey in that scene. Like, she's a little bit more caring, and he's just like relentless because he's on a power trip basically, and he's on a power trip basically this whole season.
And then even with the Hound, like when he butts in as well, you kind of start seeing. Oh, I don't know if that's whatever. You start seeing more into the Hound of his heart. Like he's not.
No, he's the son
know
of
what
a
I mean?
bitch,
Like,
but for some reason he connects with Sansa because a part of him feels like she didn't deserve it.
Yeah.
Like that's why he calls her little bird and sing a song for me. Like there's a love for her. I mean, in the books they almost kiss, so it's kind of weird.
Huh.
But yeah.
I like the Hound.
I like the Hound a lot.
Yeah. I mean, not even at first. I never didn't like him. Like he was a big, powerful warrior. I'm like, oh yeah, dude, this guy's fucking cool.
In season 2, he's a bastard. He's an asshole. Like through and through.
Yeah. And then at Winterfell, we see that Bran looks up in the sky. He sees a red comet flying across the sky. And Bran believes that it's a sign that Robb will have victory in battle, while other people think that it signifies an omen and defeat. Osha tells him that it signifies the birth of dragons, I believe. So, Manu, do you have any information of what the comet represents?
Okay, well, basically, I'm just going to say it. There's really no speculation with this. The comet means the rebirth of dragons. Like, that's what it is. It's also a herald of bloodshed. Like, when the comet shows, there's, like, war going all over. Like, Westeros, there's battle, there's war between the free cities. And also, it's like part of a prophecy that the others are coming. So that's when there's like a saying where like when the star, let me see if I have it right here. Like when the star bleeds, when the star bleeds and the nights become cold is when Azor Ahai returns. So that's one of the first signs, like the bleeding star, because it's red.
And the night becomes cold. Does that signify like the beginning of winter?
Yes.
Because we have confirmation now that winter is officially over, or like summer is over. Sorry, and winter is.
It's autumn.
It's coming. Like I think autumn is kind of like because summers are long, winters are long, but it's like autumn, like just a stopgap in between. It's not as long, but
I still think autumn is still like about a year because, you don't know this yet, but winter doesn't happen till the late seasons. Remember? Mm-hmm. So season 2, 3, 4, and 5 are autumn.
So
except in the north, it's cold, right? But
yeah. But it's just it's not as long as summer or winter because those are the main 2 seasons.
Well, remember the summer was unusually long. It's part of the whole prophecy because it was heralding an even longer winter. So that's why summer was exceptionally long. Like in the show and in the books, it was 10 years.
And it ended Jon Snow's birth year, right? Was that correct?
No, summer started with the birth of Bran.
With Bran, okay.
Yeah. Because remember, like, my sweet summer child, like the old man tells him.
Also, with all these prophecies and stuff, like you're talking about, I kind of realized something, and it's that the North and the South have 2 different belief systems. The North kind of goes more towards the older gods, and the South kind of goes towards the newer gods.
The 7.
Yeah, because Brand is praying to what's that tree called? The Godswood?
It's a Godswood. It's a God's tree? Oh my God. A white tree. Tree.
Like he's praying for like last season he was praying to keep Ned safe, but Osha tells him like, oh, the Godswood won't help you down there because they've all been cut down.
Weirwood tree.
Weirwood tree.
Okay.
Yeah, because the faith of the 7, which are the Andals from Andals, which are from Essos, they crossed through the land bridge. No, that was the first men. The Andals came over the sea, and they would cut down the weirwood trees because frankly, the old men would the first men would do blood sacrifices. They would kill other humans to the tree in front of the tree and feed the tree. So the Andals were like, this is evil. So they would cut all the Godswood down. And that's why there was a war between the Andals and the First Men. But the First Men had like the Green Seers and the Giants kind of helped them a little bit. But they were outnumbered by the Andals because the Andals had better weapons. So it's kind of, there's a whole history.
Okay, and then to round up episode 1, we have Brand's POV of his direwolf, like in his dreams. Like he sees himself walking and and like he looks into the pond or the little lake there, and he sees the reflection of his direwolf, and then he wakes up. So it's kind of giving us like a glimpse of if he's the one, just if it's just his dreams, because we kind of know now that he has like vivid dreams, and he's telling Lewin about his dreams. He's like, no, they're just dreams, they don't mean anything. He's like, I don't know, I think they do. So it's kind of like giving us an indication that he might be able to control his direwolf at some point.
And season 2 is also where with the wildlings, where I first learned about the warg.
The warg,
right?
Yep.
And that little moment was like cool because I just saw the dude, right? And then I was telling my girl, I was like, check this out, look. She's like looking at him, and he's in I think it's like the
eagle.
Yeah, the eagle soaring up top, and he's looking around like to spot something, and he comes back and. Ingrid's like, what? You've never seen a warg, right? And I was like, what the fuck? That's so cool, a warg. Like, that's such a cool power to have.
And it's kind of implied that that's what is happening to Bran.
Yeah.
And in the books, Bran has a dream where the three-eyed raven is poking his forehead to open his third eye. So that you kind of get that symbolism in the books.
In the books, the warging is a northern thing, right?
Yes. First men.
First men.
Yeah.
So the Starks, because in the books, Jon can warg, Arya can warg.
Yes.
All the Stark kids.
Jon and Arya, they don't have Tully blood. Oh no, well yeah, she does. Sorry, yeah. So yeah, Arya and Jon can warg because of their Stark blood.
Yeah, and Bran, obviously.
And then we also learn about Mance Rayder and his army of wildlings.
Who looks like everybody's Theo from the Valley, right?
Yeah.
They got like the reddest white guy to play Mance Rayder.
He played Julius Caesar in the show Rome. That's the series they made before Game of Thrones. If y'all have seen it, it's so good.
I haven't seen it, but I've seen it.
It's fantastic.
Mance Rayder is known as the king beyond the wall because wildlings, they were just tribes, basically, and he brought them together to fight the threat of the upcoming winter.
And he used to be a brother of the Night's Watch as well.
And they kind of know this because they're at Craster's Keep, and Craster's kind of a son of a bitch that just
hate that guy.
Rapes and marries his daughters, and it's kind of like not known of what he does to his male children. Like they kind of have like an idea, like so he does something with them, but they don't know yet in this episode. So yeah, that was episode 1. Sorry.
Going into episode 2, can we all agree that it was fucking hilarious to see Theon diddle his sister on the horse?
Oh, yeah. That was like, holy shit.
I still hate who they picked for her.
You were saying that the other time.
Yeah. What do they call her on the TV show? Because her name's changed. It's different.
Yara. Yeah.
I think it's Asha in the books. It's Asha and Osha in the books. Like the wildling that helps Bran and her. So their names are like a vowel apart, but they changed her name for the TV show so people wouldn't get confused. Yeah.
And then episode 2, I don't know why I keep saying seasons for episodes. Anyways, episode 2, we are introduced to Melisandre and Stannis, and we see Stannis on a beach, and Melisandre's doing like this ritual where they're burning the idols of the seven old gods. And so he's kind of converting from his old religion to this new religion of the Lord of Light. And Davos Seaworth? Yeah, he's there and he looks concerned. And then the Maester there at Dragonstone kind of comes up to Davos. He's like, hey, you need to stop this. Like, this isn't right. Like, this is black magic, basically. And I like later on where they're sitting at the table, and the Maester pulls out a little poison pack, pours it in the wine. He's just like, here, Melisandre, to celebrate. And he drinks from it first to kind of like dull her suspicions of it being poisoned. And he drinks it, and then he starts like dying, like coughing out blood. And she just looks at him, takes the glass, and just fucking chugs it. Like just drinks it in front of him, and she's fine. Like that kind of solidified her as being a powerful being within her religion and having powers that this Maester doesn't have.
Yeah, pendejo Maester Crescent. And plus, she's a shadowbinder. She's from Ashai, like the mystery world, right? Like on the edge of the world. So I think they're immune to... They do poison testing as kids, like some of these shadowbinders. So they're immune to poisons. Like they develop tolerance.
Yeah.
So that's why she's like, let's do this.
Yeah. Like that was just like a pretty badass power move on her part. Just be like, bitch, fuck you.
In the books, what she does to him in that meal, she puts a bucket on his head with antlers from a fool, and she makes look at this fool, like she like talks him down real ugly. So I didn't like that about her, but then I love her now. I love Melisandre. She's one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, and then later on in the episode, Melisandre convinces Stannis to have sex with her, as she would deliver him a mail because Stannis' wife has only delivered a daughter and stillborns, so he doesn't have like a male heir, and she's saying like you need to give yourself fully to the Lord of Light, and he will grant you a victory in battle against his brother, because right now he has to fight Renly to get troops to go take King's Landing. Like it's a step that he needed to take. And then
How did y'all feel about Renly being king?
It
No?
wasn't gonna happen. I knew he was gonna die.
I think it was just like because
It was like false hope to me, like what he felt and what he was trying to.
because Lady Stark, when she goes to see Renly, he's like, oh, my son is a king, like a proper king. He doesn't play one, and like everybody's just like, oh, this guy's fun. Like just hang out with this fun guy. Like we have like a whole bunch of men, so it's not gonna be as hard. I think Renly was like the easy way for other people to. I mean, he was charismatic, so people did like him to begin with. It wasn't just.
And Renly had a simplistic view. He wasn't like as conniving as the rest of the lords. So that's why he was like, okay, I'll ally with Stark. He can call himself King of the North. He's just a bow, whatever. He was kind of, let's just do this. But Stannis, you don't play.
And then back at Rob's camp, what were we gonna say?
No, I was gonna say Stannis is the oldest.
No, he's the middle.
Oh,
it's
Robert's
older.
Oh, shit.
Just Stannis is such a prude. He looks old.
Yeah, he does look old.
He looks like
It's Robert, Stannis, and then Renly. So
I s-
Renly did not have any right to be king. None. It should have gone to Stannis.
I see
That's why Ned Stark was like, Stannis should be the next king.
Well, neither did the Baratheons. They took the throne. They really don't have any royal
But through rights of conquest. See, that's a rule they
That's
don't really
rights
talk about in
of
the
conquest.
show. But there's a phrase, right of conquest. So if you conquer, it's yours now.
And I say it all the time, but Stannis looks like a discount Jason Statham.
An older discount, Jason Statham.
Yeah.
Such a great actor.
So they introduced in episode 2 a really cool area, which I still really enjoy every time we go back there, is Pike in the Iron Islands. And so it was when Theon arrives there and he speaks to his father, and they have this whole discussion, which I want you to elaborate a little bit more on, Manuel. But they designed Pike to feel like it was damp and mildewy, like inside the throne room that he was in. Did you all feel that when y'all
It's
first
gross.
got there?
I wouldn't go to Pike.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. I feel like it would smell like the island during red tide.
Have you ever cut up mullet for bait?
Yes.
That's what it smells like mullet guts. Gross.
Yeah. So,
Islanders.
The production placed shells all over the floor to give the audience an impression that the sea was moving in. So I really liked that place. I loved the whole squid on top of the fireplace.
That fireplace was
That
awesome.
Awesome, but you could tell that they smelled like Ramohau and high tide.
You can tell he didn't even dry his hair. Balon with his stringy gray hair walking around and shit.
Fucking nasty.
Because Theon kind of convinces Rob to let him go back to the Pike to get help from his dad to take King's Landing, and he was like, oh yeah, I'm going back to my house and to my homeland, and he's like, everybody's gonna be so proud to see me and so happy, and then he gets there and she's like, who are you?
Yeah.
And it's like, I need you to take me to the castle. He's like, why would I do that? The first guy he sees, I was like, why would I do that? He's like, oh, okay, I'll pay you. And then Yara was like, oh, I'll take you. And then that's when he fucking fingers her on the way there and gropes her basically. And then he just he comes into the throne to the main room there at the castle, and then he sees Yara with his dad. He's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. She says, I wanted to see what kind of person you were. Is what she says.
Yeah. So that was funny. It was this whole thing in his head. Everybody's gonna be so happy to see me.
I don't give a fuck about it.
Yeah, they didn't give a fuck about him.
Because in Winterfell they still gave him his station. He was a lord. You know what I mean? So in Winterfell he was treated better than Jon Snow. So Theon assumed the same. So if I go to my home, I'm gonna be treated great. And it's like, no, you're a bitch.
So when Theon goes and speaks to his father's disgusted with him, and he keeps saying they took you, like quote unquote, after killing his brothers. They took him. Why?
Because the 13 years later, after Robert ascends, I think 13 or 9, someone can correct me. The Greyjoys revolt. They declare their independence from the Iron Throne. So that's when you get the like, I call it the pre-Avengers assembly. You get like all the heroes at the time. So it's like Robert Baratheon, Ned Stark, Jorah Mormont, all these other lords. They go and attack Pike. Because Pike attacks Lannisport and burns all the ships. So the Lannisters are kind of fucked in this battle. So the rest of Westeros joins together and attacks Pike. And Balon loses 2 of his sons. The only ones left is Theon, and Theon's about 10 years old. So as a form of submission, they take the last heir of Pike to be fostered with Ned Stark. So the Iron Islands have become like complacent after that. But Balon's a bitch. He blames everybody else for his mistake because it was his revolution that caused him to lose everything. And he just wants to blame everybody else instead of taking responsibility. Plus, after that happened, 2 of his brothers kind of leave. So Balon's by himself. And the brothers aren't discussed too much in the show, but they're a main character. They're main characters in the book.
So what was the purpose of the Starks taking Theon?
Oh, so that's a hostage. He was a hostage. So if Balon revolted again, they'd kill Theon.
Yeah, and they basically kill their bloodline.
Like the way Sansa is now in King's Landing, that's how Theon was in Winterfell.
Oh, I thought it was so they could mold him.
Well, that's why he went with Ned, so he would be a better man. So if you're fostered by Ned Stark, it's like you have like the best parentage. So whenever he would take the throne or the seat of the Ironborn, they would probably be a better people. You know, that was the vain hope. But they're Ironborn. They're all like Viking pirate assholes.
And you kind of see that when he takes Winterfell later on the season, where he kind of looks over to his men to kind of like get like a nod to like, yeah, you should do this horrible thing, because he's hesitant. Like he's not like the big badass guy he thinks he is. He's just like, maybe should I? He's like, yeah, go. Like you need to kill this person because he insulted you, basically.
Yeah, because that's why the Ironborn you pay the iron price. So if someone insults you, you stab them with iron. If you want someone's goat, you stab them with iron. You know what I mean? Like everything's the iron price. And Theon was raised with like honor and duty and fairness. So for him, it's a culture clash. That's why he flips. He wants to prove he's worthy of his house, but at the same time, he's betraying everyone that loved him. You know, so it's kind of, his story's deep. It's deep. It's deep. It's good in the books, especially.
So I kind of want to talk overview now instead of going episode by episode. Sticking with Theon, he takes Winterfell, and he kind of goes on a wild goose chase, chasing the Stark boys after they escape the castle, and he does this ruse of killing the 2 orphan boys that they sent to the farm and passing them off as Brand and Rickon.
That was fucked up, dude. To me, Theon is unforgivable. Like you cannot, everything that he did, from taking Winterfell, from killing the Maester, for killing
the cool guy, what was his name?
Rickon. Yeah, that was the head of the army for the
the Master of Arms.
Master of Arms.
Yeah.
Because he gets
Sir Roderick. That's his name. Sorry, I remember.
Because he gets to the Pike, and then they're like, okay, when they're doing battle plans, you're always gonna take 30 ships. Theon, you're gonna get 1 ship, and you're gonna raid the fishing villages. Like you get the bitch duty, basically. And the ship is called what?
Sea bitch.
The sea bitch.
And they do that to Theon because he was in Winterfell, which is in the middle of like Siberia. So what the fuck does he know about raiding the coast? It's like, you dumbass.
Yeah, like you said, like in his head, he's like the great guy that's gonna come back to his homeland and be celebrated. And to them, he's just like, no, you're just a fucking idiot right now. Like you haven't had your sea legs, to say this, so to speak. So we gotta work your way up. But they're giving him the whole like hard love, where they're not gonna be like, hey Theon, we're glad you're back. You gotta work your way up though. But he's like, no, you're gonna be the bitch. So he takes Winterfell in order to kind of like elevate his standing as quick as possible, because like, yeah, they want to take the north, and what better way to take the north than to take Winterfell, like the main.
But they couldn't hold it because they don't have the power of the sea.
Yeah,
and also him killing the Maester before he before he dies, he says, if you do this, you're truly lost." Doesn't he say that?
Yeah.
To him, and throughout that whole time, him in Winterfell, there is so much of him just like he's also like, "What the fuck am I doing? Like, why am I doing?" You know what I mean? He's also kind of like questioning himself. You can see it on his facial expressions. Like when they burn those two boys, and he looks at them, his face is kind of like, "Fuck, what the fuck did they do? Like, what did I do? You know what I mean? What am I leading?" So like, yeah, he's very hesitant. He's very indecisive and like in this middle ground where not accepted by anybody. So he's just kind of trying to.
But he was accepted by the Starks, and that's what fucking pisses me off.
But the thing, like
that's not his family anymore.
Yeah, but that's the thing, that the fact that he went back and then his homeland and shit, like they didn't accept him. He was like, "Oh fuck that! I need to go against them to be accepted."
And he was like second in command under Robb, man. Like he had Robb's ear.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was helping the North win.
They were brothers.
And he also says like the Starks treat you like family. He's like, "I was never their family. I was their prisoner." Like. Now,
but that was after
in high garb, wearing good clothes.
But that was after he went back to the Iron Islands. Then he started thinking like that.
He started thinking because he wanted to be accepted to his homeland and be the heir to that.
And then and I always do this devil advocate. But then again, think about Theon. It's kind of like Viserys in season 1. Like he's the heir to the Salt Throne. That's what it's called. Like the throne of the Iron Islands, the Salt Throne. So. He's like, "Hey, this should be mine, but I have to prove to my people that I've earned it." Yeah. So that's why he becomes a son of a bitch. And then the reason why those Iron Islanders are that way is because what do they grow on rocks? Nothing. So they constantly have to raid the coast to get food, supplies. So if their leader can't do that, like why the fuck do they want him? So that's why I guess he tries to make himself something he's not.
And it's kind of indicative when at the end, Roose Bolton's bastard is besieging the Winterfell, and Maester Lewin tells him like, "Hey, take the black, surrender Winterfell, take the black, regain your honors over there." And he's kind of afraid of Jon going to Castle Black or to the Wall because Jon's there, and if Jon finds out what he did, he's gonna kill him. Basically, he's like, "No, I need to hold this place." And his men were just like, "Fuck that!" Like they knock him out and they bag him and kind of just deliver him to the Boltons.
Yeah. So
like even when he's in command, his men are just like, "All right, it was fun while it lasted. Fuck you. You're not one of us. Like here you go. Let's just trade him for our lives." Because they don't give a fuck about him. And I was talking about Robb. Robb is a badass in this season.
Yeah.
Like he has victory after victory against Lannisters in battle. He does the whole like sending the small army to attack the camp while he takes Jaime Lannister prisoner.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, but you also see like his prowess in war fighting. Like, okay, I need to send this distraction to get my ultimate goal.
He sacrificed men.
Yeah, and he acknowledges that, like, he sacrificed men, and he feels bad about it. But he's like, but it's the thing I needed to do. And so I think, yeah, I mean, not I, but just I guess in general, I don't know how it works in the books, but in season 1, you don't see much of Ned in battle or war. Right. He's just kind of he's just this character who's very you know of his past somewhat, that people talk about it. But Robb is such a great second to Ned. Like he can fill the shoes. Like he's so like I love Robb. Like,
he would have been a great king.
Yes.
He would have been a great king, and
but he didn't want it either way. He didn't want the royal throne. He just wanted peace.
Mm-hmm. He wanted to,
because he never wanted to be. He never wanted the Iron Throne. Yep.
Because he wanted to crush the Lannisters to get revenge for his family and then get his sisters back. Yeah. So I like that scene where he has Jaime in the cell and he comes and he's like, he's basically like taunting him, like taunting Jaime, like saying like, "Oh, I'm besting you in battle," and Jaime tells him something like, 3 battles doesn't make you a conqueror. It's like, yeah, but 3 losses doesn't make you a conqueror either. And he's just like, "Oh, you're just a boy." He's like, "I mean, you've been defeated by a boy." So he's kind of like gloating to him, like, I can take on your family. And then when his direwolf comes around and just kind of like,
and he flinches. Jaime flinches. I was like, "Oh fuck."
Yeah, it's just like the big fucking like balls on Robin, like, bitch, I fucking got you, bitch.
And I love the way Catelyn was always his advisor. Like she would always give him hints and like do this, Rob, and watch out with this. And I love Catelyn. I mean,
and for the most part, he takes like her advice. I mean, especially when they need to get through the neck and they have to broker a deal with the Freys, and the deal includes Rob marrying one of the Frey daughters, which I really don't know much about the Freys at this point.
they're all deformed.
Yeah, okay, because he's like, everybody kind of makes it seem like, oh, they're ugly as fuck.
They are,
So nobody, like, Rob takes it as
except one or two. The rest are gross.
Rob takes it as like a big, like, oh fuck, I have to do this, really? Like, he just takes it as an affront. Like, he's just like, he's not like happy about it. He's just like, all right, I have to make the sacrifice in order to win. And then later on, he falls in love with the field nurse.
I fucking hated that. I'm sorry, guys.
I'm sorry, but
hate
I absolutely
Talisa.
love that shit. Really? I love
Hate
it.
Talisa.
Yeah, I also was just like, what?
So not
Like,
Nakai. I'm like, who
Rob-
the fuck's this bitch?
Like Rob's a pretty boy. Like he's a good looking dude, and then he's with this fucking, I don't know. I was just
Dude,
like,
she's this Greek goddess.
I forgot what I was. I told my girl something about it. I was just like, look at her nose. Like, I'm sorry, but I was just like, I guess when I'm going into like the universe, right? I'm just like, I don't like her. Like, I don't know. For him.
You want me to tell you what happens in the books? Well, when he goes and he conquers part of the Westlands, part of the Lannister lands, he meets one of the Lannisters, like vassal lords. He has sex with his daughter, and he feels honor bound to be with her. So her name is Jane Westerling. So in the book, he's with one of the Lannisters, liege lords' daughters, not this chick from Volantis. That's why I was like, what? When I saw it, I'm like, that she's a maid, and because he's with a highborn girl. So I'll just say that.
Was it Lady Talisa?
Yeah,
Talisa.
Talisa.
Yeah, so he kind of sees her out in the field, like, pretending to men from both sides, and he kind of gives her shit about it, like, why are you helping them? He's like, well...
So y'all thought she was unattractive?
No, I thought she was fucking hot.
I didn't like the combination.
Yeah, I didn't like her for Rob.
Yeah, no, see, she's a guapita, but it's just not like...
Dude, I thought it was so fucking hot.
She was real long, like she was real long limbed.
She's all cutting limbs, and you're like,
I don't like long in the wrong places, like a long neck, like a long shaped oval head. It was weird.
See, that's how I feel with Theon's sister. I'm like, ooh.
Okay, and to me, Rob is a compact, like everything's proportionate on Rob.
Thick.
He's like
Beautiful teeth.
He's like constructed well. He's got nice hair. Like
Got the curls in his hair.
Dude,
That's always wet for some reason.
like-
The hints of red in his beard.
Yeah.
fucking man crush, dude. Like, he was awesome. Like, he looks like a fucking lion. Like, when he speaks in the Irish in his voice. Where's Scottish in his voice. Ooh, awesome.
Mother.
So yeah,
My
they
favorite thing he says, mother.
So yeah, they form a relationship and end up getting married at the end of the season in secret, basically, or in the middle of the night, or like, yeah, in secret, basically.
Stupid.
So that means he disregarded his vow to the Freys, which the Freys they take affront to that. Like, they're not gonna be like, oh, okay, fine, whatever. Like,
Do you know?
cool.
Do you know why the Freys are like the cocksuckers of the neck? Because they own the only massive toll to get from the neck to the rest of Westeros. I mean, from the north to the rest of Westeros.
And the neck is just like basically like a neck. Like, it's just a narrow landmass that connects.
And there's swamps and like hills and crap. So you have to go through the Freys, like to travel. So, and especially an army, like you have to go through the
Or else
the
it'll take you
twins.
way longer,
Right.
Than to going around.
Exactly. Or you have to take ships. So that's why they're such motherfuckers. And that's why they're so wealthy. They're like, it's kind of like trailer park people that charge people to cross their lawn and they have all the money saved in like Folger cans. That's the phrase. And they sleep with their cousins.
And then the fact that how we say the Frey and all his daughters and stuff, like they're not
Gross.
good. They're gross. So Rob goes and turns on them like, oh, I'm not going to marry your daughter. After all, come on, man. He's just like trying to get somebody to get with his daughter.
He's like, I'd rather date this dirty nurse from Volantis than date your daughter.
Who's teaching him stuff, teaching him to be even more honorable and noble.
No, I mean,
and to end the war in a, I don't know. To end the
like
war.
if I didn't read the books, she wouldn't bother me so much. But since I read the books, I'm like, fuck this bitch.
And I like the way she pushes back on him. Also, like, he tells her like, oh, this boy was lucky you were here. He's like, yeah, but he was unlucky that you were. Kind of like.
Yeah.
That's another that pissed me. I'm like, get out of here, foreigner.
Sticking with Rob and Jamie. Catelyn Stark kind of brokers a deal with Jamie, saying like, if I let you go, you need to send Arya and Sansa back to me. So she tells Brienne after Brienne feels her loyalty to
Renly.
After Renly, because Renly died. Mm-hmm. So we're gonna get to that in a bit. Brienne is with Lady Stark now, and she kind of feels her loyalty to her, and so her and Jamie go on a field trip, to go to King's Landing to get Sansa and Arya back. So kind of like a prisoner exchange, but she goes against Rob's wishes to do that, and that kind of creates a rift between the Karstarks. Oh, sorry,
the Karstarks and the Starks
and all the northern men, because he's like, why are you letting our prisoners go? Like
the best prisoner in the world.
Yeah.
And remember, I told you on last episode that, the Starks do make mistakes for love. Ned Stark did it for his daughter, like I'll say I'm a traitor, whatever. And then Kat does it for her daughters as well, for the love of her daughters.
And then how you were also saying that Kat, she has great advice, but sometimes because of love, she fucks shit up.
So, and this was her. I mean, even though she's a Tully, but she's still a Stark. You know what I mean? She's one of the Starks. So that was her mess up.
I don't want to skip this whole part because I really enjoyed the whole Brienne and Jamie thing. But like from the jump when Jamie came in and they captured him, he was such a cunt. Like arrogant piece of shit. And you just like, because you love to hate him.
Because
I love Jamie when he was a dick.
But he's a Lannister. Like he's the best of the best. Like, well, according to like him, like. He was
the best swordsman, best looking, best armor, ahead of the Kingsguard.
The only thing that fucks him up is him fucking his sister, I think. Right?
Yeah.
So I think that's why like it hit him hard when Rob was just like, you're fucking nothing right now. Like you're my prisoner. And he kind of realizes like, oh fuck, like this.
But he knows you kill me, you lose your sisters. That's how arrogant he played with it. He even knew. He's like, I'm sitting in my own shit, but I don't care. He was still arrogant about it. And I fucking hated him. Transition to when they release him and he goes off with Brienne.
No, because they're together for a while. I don't remember.
Yeah, they're together for a while, and he's just taunting her.
Well, oh my god! In the books, he's such a dick. He's like horse face, big teeth, stork. Oh yeah.
Well, he kind of changes. He doesn't change his tune because he still kind of like gives a shit.
I'll cut that out.
And he still gives her shit and stuff. So, but until they see like the Stark men like on their way to King's Landing, and she fights him off and kills him, and he's like, oh, you're a fucking warrior. Like you're not just a tall blonde bitch that's like fucking like butch as fuck. You're a fucking warrior. Like he kind of gives her the respect as a warrior himself. Like he kind of like says like, okay.
Well, she beats him. Like remember he pulls the sword and she's like, pa pa pa.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
So
she's a huge bitch.
She's tall. Yeah, she's as tall as the Hound, I think, in real life.
And then we talk about Renly real quick. Just he has his army. He kind of has Margery as his wife, and they. I like this whole Margery's kind of way of not playing with him, but like he's like, because he's like, when you need to give me a child, basically. Like you're a king, I'm the queen now. So
she also has this drive within her of like I'm gonna do what needs to be done for me to get what I want. She plays.
And
she's not
the best
stupid.
example. The best example is when like they're trying to have sex, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, like I just can't. I think I had too much wine, and she's like, do you want me to get my brother in here?
Yeah.
Because they're like Loras and Renly are hooking up, and she knows this. Like she knows this, and it's like you can start you off, and then like you can just finish. Like we can just finish, and he's just like, what? He's like. You don't have to lie to me. Like save your lives for court. Like we're a husband and wife. We need to help each other out. Like
I love Margery. I love her in the show a lot. In the book, she's more like a girl, like. But in the TV show, she's like a sassy bitch. Like she knows what the fuck. Yeah. I love her in the show.
What was her family name?
Tyrells.
Tyrells. Okay.
That's a new family that they introduced.
Yeah. I liked her too.
And we haven't talked about the Shadow Baby.
Well, I was gonna get to that.
I knew that.
Well, the sex between Stannis and Melisandre, while it was hot and stuff, it created something pretty scary, which is the Shadow Baby. And I like how all the like Game of Thrones wikis and stuff, they call it the Shadow Baby because it is a fucking shadow baby, you know. And she gives birth to it in the caves under Renly's camp, and it just comes into his tent and fucking stabs him in the heart. And that was the end of Renly.
No, Brienne in the show, in the book it's Brienne. Brienne's reaction to when he dies is one of my favorite.
She just cries
screams
so hard
in the whole show. That one and Catelyn's later, but that scene where she's like, no, like I was like, yes, the drama.
And then the guards coming in and being like, what did you do? And she's like, you know what? Like, she doesn't even say like it wasn't me. She just fucking kills him because one, like they're gonna attack her because they think that she killed him. But also, like, her fury and, like, her anger within herself for not protecting Renly and, like, trying to get just revenge. Because
you had one job, chick.
Yeah.
How the fuck do you stop a shadow baby?
How do you stop a fucking newborn shadow baby?
You don't jump in the front of that bitch.
Who's when the way it killed Renly too. Like the sword formed through his chest.
Yeah,
it was fucking cool.
Did y'all notice it looked like Stannis?
Okay,
Did
so
it really?
Yeah.
There's a theory. Because when I first watched this, like years ago, there was a theory that the shadow figure had no face, but then like later they say it looked like Stannis, and I don't know. If
I don't see it.
No, I do. I clearly see it.
Yeah, you have to put it in like pause it, and you'll see it.
And also, who was there when she was giving birth?
Davos.
Sir Davos.
Oh, and Davos is one of my favorite characters. I love Sir Davos. He's like that uncle, you know, like, yay, like, oh, I brought you a toy. You know what I mean? Like, thanks, Uncle Davos.
Sit on my lap, boy. I mean, what?
You're not the same uncle.
No. He's cool. And, like, his reaction when she's giving birth to the shadow baby, he's just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, he's just like, This is unnatural. This is unholy.
He
like
tries to cover his mouth with his fingerless hand.
Now, from the books, guys, after the shadow cunt baby's born, later Daenerys is given some visions, right, in the House of the Undying, and one of the visions she's given is she sees a blue-eyed king who casts no shadow and raises a red sword in his hand. So she's already seen like she doesn't know who it is, but it's already mentioning that's like Stannis lost something by doing that. Like he has no shadow anymore. Like he does, right? But he lost a piece of his soul by doing that ritual with Melisandre. Because remember, Melisandre is an instrument of the Lord of Light. You don't like if you don't serve the Lord of Light, a la verga.
You guys like Melisandre?
I love her. I'm like one of the few people that love her.
I don't like her. Yeah, I hate her too. Because she speaks in this way that's just a way of destiny.
A matter of fact.
A way of destiny, and like, you know, like she knows what's gonna happen. She knows what's gonna happen through the Lord of Light and all this stuff. And I don't like that type of like.
I love it.
This
I love
has
that
to be done.
Yes.
This, I don't know.
Look into the fires.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Okay, and then let's move on to Let's move on to King's Landing, with the whole events there, the Battle of the Black Water and stuff like that. But before that, I like you said like you like Tyrion's character, and he does this whole thing of like telling 3 different people, Littlefinger, was it Pycelle and Varys, like, hey, I'm gonna marry off the princess, what's her name, Marcella to these people,
Tristan of Dorne.
Yeah, to Dorne, and I'm gonna marry off to Theon, and just gives them like different names to see who is giving Cersei information.
Who's them all?
Yeah. And then when he finds out it's Pycelle, he kind of has him like put into the black cells and just like, because he knows that the downfall of Ned was him trusting so many people and people working behind the scenes against him. So he kind of is like, okay, if I'm gonna survive here, I need a clean house. So he kind of finds who was giving information to Cersei. He gets rid of the head of the gold cloaks and puts Bronn in there, like his friend, and it just kind of like solidifies his safeness in the city, because even though he's a Lannister, he's just like the runt of the group, so nobody gives a fuck about him, or at least he thinks so.
One of my favorite scenes was when he has Pycelle and he cuts his little beard, and he goes, cut off his bits and feed it to the goats. And the guy's like, there's no goats half band. He's like, well, make do. You know, I love that scene.
Fuck, Pycelle is his name?
Yeah.
Right? Is it in season 2 where he's like, he just finishes up with that girl And then he gets up from the bed and he's just like,
And then
That tells
and
you
before
about
he
his
leaves,
character.
and he goes back into like
He just
fuck
you
him.
play weak, act dumb, and snitch whenever you need to snitch. You take care of the higher ups, and they take care of you. That's how he's playing the Game of Thrones. Tyrion's playing the Game of Thrones, and there was also a scene with Sansa that I felt like, hey, she knows what's up. Okay, so in episode 4, like Joffrey holds a crossbow to Sansa. So Tyrion prevents further beating of Sansa and asks her if she wanted out of the engagement because at this point they've arranged that Joffrey and her were going to get married. And she says, Joffrey is my one true love. Tyrion realizes that Sansa just may survive, and she's playing the Game of Thrones now. Mm-hmm. She is now a part of what's going on to her. And she's basically sealing her own fate. Basically living with a pack of wolves.
right?
It's fucking
A pack
insane.
of lions. Oh,
lion.
pride of lions.
And the reason she was never killed was because they had Jaime. So that's why Sansa even survived so long. That's the only reason. That was the only reason.
Because
For
that's the only
longest time.
Stark girl they have.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the fucking Joffrey real quick? I have a theory that if he wasn't so highborn and like had this power to begin with, like he's king, like he has all the power he basically wants. I think he would be like a Jack the Ripper style serial killer, because throughout the season we see him kind of like torment women for the most part. Like
He's
it's
a masochist.
yeah, Sansa, the two or that one prostitute, or that he has the other one beat Ross beat like with the stuff, and
The head girl, right? She's the head girl in
Right.
Littlefinger's house.
Yeah.
Or house.
His bottom bitch.
Yes.
Or his top bitch. Right?
but
bottom
yeah,
bitch is the main bitch.
Bottom bitch?
Yeah.
Oh.
yeah, he kind of like has her like beat the other one, and like it's just he just beats women, and or like likes torturing women. And I listen to like a bunch of like true crime podcasts, and they talk about serial killers, and most of the serial killers that like target women are people that have been humiliated or like or treated badly by their mothers. And I don't think Cersei treats Joffrey bad until she kind of like disrespects him in front of like everybody in the throne room, where she slaps him. And like you see him kind of like, because he's having this arrogant like, oh
King
yeah,
arrogance. So he's a king now.
yeah, and he tells him like, oh yeah, well, I'm gonna cut a smile on my uncle's face from ear to ear or whatever, like I'm gonna give him a red smile or something like that. And yeah, I think he would be a serial killer if he didn't have all this power to begin with.
If he wasn't a fucking highborn, he would, because he's fucked up.
I don't know. Maybe since he had that much power, that's what caused him to be a serial killer or masochist.
No, because I was saying, because how they talk about the Mad King, he was also born of incest.
Yes. Well, yeah, he was married to his sister or his cousin, but yeah, incest. They're all yeah.
I think that has something to do with it too. It just makes you fucking think weird, you know?
Yeah, because I think also like he tells Cersei tells Tyrion like he's like, I think I messed up with Joffrey. Like I don't know where I went wrong, and Tyrion kind of consoles her by saying like, you still have Marcella and what's the other kid's name?
Tommen.
And Tommen, like they're good kids. And she's like, yeah, I think so. I think the gods are punishing us. And she kind of like admits to Tyrion like the rumors of me and Jaime having these kids are true. And he kind of just like, all right, well, it's something we can do now. Like, you know, it's still our family, so we need to protect them.
Because in the books too, Tyrion knows if everyone finds out the truth, like all the Lannisters are going to be taken out. So that's why he's like, we got to keep this, under the table.
And then even the Battle of the Blackwater, when the wildfire is like the ship with wildfire is exploded, and like everybody, you said like earlier, like everybody's faces are just like, what the fuck is going on? Like they're just distraught. They're kind of like bothered by it. Joffrey has a huge ass smile on his face. Like he enjoys the death and the killing of his enemies, but when it comes time for him to like take charge of his troops, he cowers out and he leaves. And Tyrion has to take the mantle of leadership and be like, all right, we need we need to go out there. He kind of rallies his men. He's like, don't fight for the king. Don't fight for the crown. Like, fight for yourself because this is your city. Like, this is your... And, like, he finds a way to connect with them for them to fight because they're already discouraged that Joffrey left the battlefield.
Yeah, and Tyrion always has a way to connect with the common soldier, common person. Like, anybody he meets, he can connect to them. Like, highborn or low. Because since he was born of a great family but treated like shit, he has, like, that whole spectrum of attitudes and, you know, connections with people.
And then, what do you guys think about the Battle of the Blackwater? It was pretty cool. Like, I like the effect of the green flame, and it's kind of like napalm, where like anything it touches just burns and like it spreads. So I thought it was pretty cool where it was a green flame. Like you don't see that often.
And that's how Ned Stark's brother was killed.
That's
with that. So he was like burning in agony, like because the champion of the Mad King was wildfire, so he had to fight that.
I don't know how you fight that. You can't even fucking
you
can't even put it out. Yeah. So they end up like Stannis' men end up being burned in the battle, most of the men, and then he kind of leads a charge onto the beach to climb the castle walls. And I like the contrast between like Stannis and Joffrey, where Joffrey's like goes back into his chambers and Stannis is the first one up the ladders.
Yep.
Like Stannis is like, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to get a victory, and like even when Tywin, because Tywin and the Tyrells end up coming and saving the day at the end, and like his men kind of pull Stannis back, it's like we need to leave. He still wants to fight. Like
they have to drag him from the battle.
Yeah, he still wants to fight, and I think that's a great contrast between the two characters of these two kings.
And that's why book readers call him Stannis the Manus, because he's a bad. I love Stannis, but he's different in the book. But I love Stannis, and there is something I do. I don't know if we have time. I just want to mention like what they tell Dany, like the 3 prophecies. It's really short, but this is what sets the paradigm for the rest of the series. She's told she's the child of 3. You know, they tell her that there's 3 fires she must light. There's 1 for life, 1 for death, and 1 for love. And then there's 3 mounts she must ride. 1 to bed, 1 to dread, and 1 to love. And then there's 3 treasons she will know. 1 for blood, 1's for gold, and 1's for love. And they each one kind of enrolls during the series. But that was one of the main things for the second book, was that scene.
I just kind of want to end it with Dany's story. You said you don't like the story of her story in Qarth. I thought it was interesting. Like I said, like it's her kind of realizing that she, like, nothing's gonna be easy and handed to her, because they're in the desert, walking without water, without food, and then they finally find a place, and they get there, and like the 7, was it like the 7?
Yeah, the
Qarth,
masters of Qarth.
Of Qarth, they're just like, oh, we're not gonna let you in until somebody is like, I'll vouch for her. Like he kind of gives them a blood oath that he's gonna keep her contained or whatever, and it just ends up being like a whole clusterfuck of this guy. Was it Zero? He's a fucking long ass name. I'm just gonna call him Zero.
Zeron Zoran Daxus.
So I'm just gonna call him Zero, and he kind of gives you this story like, I came from nothing. Now I'm the wealthiest man in Qarth, and to her that's what she wants to do. Like she has nothing right now, but she wants to build an army, and then once she has that army, she wants to take the Iron Throne. So she wants to go from nothing to something, the way that Zero is portraying himself. And so she kind of trusts him, and her dragons are stolen, and then they find out that Zero and the warlock of Qarth, was his name,
Pyat
Pri, have made a plan to steal her dragons and kill the rest of the 7 masters of Qarth and take over the thing. And because Pyat Pri tells Dany or Daenerys, like, your dragons and you are the newfound like power to, or the newfound like energy to my powers.
Well, magic's back.
Yeah.
And their ability comes back. You know what I mean? So, sorry.
Yeah. And then she kind of finds out that one of her most trusted like servants is the one that betrayed her, because they take the dragons to the House of the Undying, which is where the warlocks live, and they go into all these rooms, and she sees the Iron Throne, and they're kind of giving her temptations of like, if you want the throne, here it is. Like,
Yep.
And and then they kind of go. She kind of leaves that room, and then she finds Drogo and her newborn son, Rhaego, and they kind of share a moment like she wants to stay there with him, but she knows she can't because she knows this is not real. And then they leave that room, and she finds her dragons like chained up, and that's when Pirate Pri tells her, like, you're the newfound source of my powers. You're gonna stay here forever. You're gonna be mine, basically. And I like how she just looks annoyed, like she doesn't look scared or anything, and she just says Dracarys, and the fucking dragons just burn them alive. And I think that's where she changed, like from being a scared girl, because she was scared going into this thing, to coming out like a more hardened leader and knowing she has to do things that aren't what she wanted to do in the first place to gain favor with everybody and have her power.
And it's like her courage grows with her dragons. So the more her dragons grow, the more ballsy she gets. Well, I mean, who wouldn't, right? It's like, I got 3 fire-breathing dragons. What you going to do?
Yeah. So, yeah.
And in the book, it does not happen like that. The House of the Undying. It's completely different. I mean, yeah, even it's different. So I won't get into the details too much, but yeah, it's very different. Oh, and Zoan Zarandaxis in the book is a small, pale gay man. Like, he marries her, but he likes dudes. It's not the dude like from the show. It's like completely opposite.
Yeah.
So yeah. And he doesn't get locked in a vault. Like he comes out later.
Yeah, I like the whole like, because I kind of when he was first introduced, he kind of tells a story of like, yeah, I came from nothing. I was just working at the docks, and now I'm the wealthiest man in Karth. And like, he keeps repeating the story. Like, no matter what Dany says, he kind of says, well, when I first got here, like, keeps repeating the story. And like, I don't know if you've ever like encountered people that just lie. They just tell you something and they keep telling you things that aren't necessary. Like if you're hiding a body in your car, the trunk of your car, and a cop pulls you over for speeding, you're like, you know why I pulled you over? It's like, it's not because of the body in my trunk, ha. Like, you kind of like nervously
give it away.
Yeah, like you're trying to tell the truth but misdirecting them. I think that's what he tried to do. Like, he tried to kind of like get this lie into her head and telling him like, yeah, I have people come and try to break into my vault like on purpose, because nobody can get into my vault unless they have this thing and
the key or whatever. Yeah,
kind of like building up his story, but then we find out it's all fake. Like,
but do you know what was valuable?
The story,
the door itself.
Yeah,
it was Valyrian steel, wasn't it? Like, the door was worth more than anything. Like, the actual door of the safe. So that was his treasure. It's just he had nothing inside, but he's like, this is whatever. It's like, yeah, the door, dumbass.
Oh, I didn't.
So
know
now
that.
Enjoy it.
I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Before we wrap up, I want to explore a little bit of the lore of the series, especially in season 2. There's a special scene in episode 7 where Arya and Tywin talk about the dragon riders who destroyed Harrenhal. Manuel, can you elaborate a little bit as to what happened to Harrenhal 300 years
Okay,
prior?
so Harrenhal was a massive castle. Like, we're talking huge, one of the biggest structures in Westeros. And the day he put the last stone was the day Aegon landed on Westeros. Like, so it was like Harren the Black was like, ha, I finished. And then Aegon the Conqueror lands on Westeros, right? So when he eventually gets to the Riverlands, because Harren the Black owned the Iron Islands and he followed the river all the way to Harrenhal. So he owned like a chunk of Westeros and the Iron Islands, and he would make the Tully slaves and their bitches and whores and all that. So Harrenhal's walls were too high and too thick and too well stocked for any army to take. Like, this is like Fort Knox of Westeros. So when Aegon goes, like, look, surrender your arms, whatever, you'll still be Harren the Black, you'll be Lord of the Iron Islands, everything's cool, just serve me. And he's like, fuck you. He's like, how are you gonna get into this bitch? Like, what? Like, what are you gonna do? Like, you have 10,000 men. I can garrison in here for years. You can't do shit to me. He'd be like, no, but dragons can fly. So at night, he has the men kind of attack the castle as a ruse, and Aegon flies way up, way up. And then he just flies down onto from the top. He just flies straight down on Harrenhal and burns it. Balon, right? No, what's his name? Balerion the Dread, lands on the pyres, starts ripping up the walls, melting the stone. Everything that could be caught on fire was caught on fire. So, all the food, all the wood beams, the people, they all melted. It got so hot that the stone started melting and cracking. So when you see Harrenhal, you see the broken fingers and how some of the stone looks melted because he just completely destroyed Harrenhal. I mean, it's so huge that a lot of it's still there. That's why when people move into Harrenhal, they only live in a room. There's no way to live in the whole castle. You would need a huge population just to garrison it, much less to make it. I mean, much more to make it a living castle. So it's just an obtuse piece of real estate. But all the lands around Harrenhal are the most fertile. It is prime real estate. It's just cursed. And every house that has controlled it dies.
Fuck.
Every house. So.
And Tywin was in there, right?
Tywin was in there in the books. It's actually Balon, not Balon. It's Roose Bolton in the books. Okay. But I love it better with Tywin because Tywin and Arya were awesome.
That's where
together.
That's where he has her as his cupbearer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. And it's kind of an outpost for him, right? At this point in the battle.
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So it's not a permanent home, but just an outpost.
Wait. Was it also? I'm sorry. Was it also season 2? If not, then we'll cut it out. But was it also season 2 with the faceless man?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, there's the hint of Jack and Hagar at the end.
Okay.
Yeah, because remember, she rescues him, and then that's the 3 deaths, right? The 3 names?
That's in that season, yeah.
That's season 2, the 3 names. Okay. So, he has to pay him back, the 3 deaths.
Yeah. And that happens in,
Right, and then at the end, he's like, Jim and the holograms, he changed his face.
Yeah. That's the first, see, when y'all talked about that, I was like, who the fuck is, what? I was like, oh, faceless man, I get it. When y'all talked about it before, I was like, what the fuck is that? I haven't even heard about that.
Yeah.
With episode 10, we start off with a bunch of betrayals. So leading into this episode, season 3, I want to talk about a little bit about season 10. And I'll lay out episode 10. And we'll talk about a few bullet points I want to discuss. So Tyrion wakes up in a tower that's not the Hand of the King anymore. He's not living there anymore. And his face is wrapped. Obviously, they somebody put a hit out on him to kill him. And he was honestly the true hero of the Battle of Blackwater. And now he's just set aside, and Tywin is taking all the accolades.
Or was Podrick?
Yeah.
Saving
Podrick saved him. So, a fun fact about Podrick, really quickly before I continue. Daniel Portman, who plays Podrick Payne, is the real-life son of Ron Donachi, who's Roderick Castle, who's...
Roger Cassell?
Roger Cassell, there you go.
He's the one that was with Caitlyn and what's his name kills.
Theon kills him, cuts his head off.
Roger Cassell.
Oh, shit.
Roger Cassell.
And I think it's safe to... Well, I think it's good to mention that the reason why Tyrion is in this state where he's just somebody tried to kill him, it wasn't the enemy forces. It was a knight of the... Was it the Kingsguard?
The Kingsguard.
The Kingsguard trying to kill Tyrion in battle because somebody from within the family, because he's a Kingsguard, so he doesn't get orders from just anybody. It has to be somebody,
king or the queen.
It has to be somebody high up. So he kind of figures out that one of them tried to kill him.
Yes. Sansa Stark is no longer going to wed Joffrey.
She's so happy for 5 minutes. Remember, she's like, I don't have to marry him.
But that's the only thing keeping her alive.
This is all in episode 10?
Yes, episode 10 of season 2. She's put up with a lot of abuse all the entire season, and the fact that now they don't even need her. Well, they kind of need her to secure the North, but yeah. And then also we see Littlefinger. He's a little creep. He talks to Sansa, tells her that he's gonna take care of her.
But he kind of because she's all happy that she doesn't have to marry Joffrey anymore because Tyrells were like, hey, we saved you. It'll be cool if you marry Margery to unite our houses to make this alliance work. And Sansa's like, oh, cool, I don't have to get marry Joffrey anymore. But Littlefinger's like, that's not gonna stop him from like making your life hell. And she's just like, oh, you're right. And that's when he's just like, I can help you escape, being that creep that he is.
So we spoke a little bit about, and it happened in episode 10 too, is when Dany goes in the house of Undying and she has all these visions. I don't know if she's hallucinating or it's a dream, but she goes into the tower and she walks through the door. She sees the Iron Throne destroyed, ashes falling from the sky,
or
is
snow.
It snow? She almost touches the throne but stops when she hears her dragons. She turns around and she walks through the doorway and she sees it automatically changes from King's Landing to she's back in
the tent.
Tent with Drogo, Khal Drogo, and her unborn son. Like she says earlier in the season, like my dreams come true. Is that foreshadowing, Manuel, or because I know there's speculation in the books as to maybe she doesn't make it the entire way.
See, that's where you get into the Zora High prophecy, because it's kind of like when the Red Star bleeds and the North comes, and it's kind of like Daenerys completes some of that. So in a way, but then you get the champion who's going to wield the fiery sword, and he's from the North. So yeah, I don't want to get too much into it because it's going to kind of spoil.
I kind of took like that, like the throne room and Khal Drogo in the tent with his son. I kind of took that as a parallel to. And maybe I'm reaching too far into this, but like Jesus' journey through the desert, where the devil's trying to tempt him into like
that's what it was exactly.
Trying to tempt him into like I forget what he was doing, but like he's trying to tempt him with food and I think water
with like all the kingdoms of the world.
Yeah. So I think that was a parallel to her journey of like wading through temptation to get to her destination.
Yeah, because the Undying want to trap her. They want her to stay. She's like a battery, and her dragons are like mega batteries for their magic. So yeah, exactly. They want to tempt her to keep her. But also, you saw a piece of the future because you see King's the Iron Throne or the throne room like with a hole and snow or ash falling through.
Was it Piece of the Future, or was it just like a?
It's a mixture of both, because the whole Khal Drogo thing, that was temptation. Because like he did.
Yeah.
She can't.
He's under that pillow.
It was a lot of things that, like, I don't know. And that's why I asked for the foreshadowing, because, like, obviously Khal Drogo's dead. Her son is dead. It's like, but she can't have anything in that vision. So it's like, is she gonna get the throne? Is it ash or snow? Is it like has she sacrificed enough? I mean, like. Or has she done enough?
Yeah. I mean, I have my theory about the ending, but we'll talk about that later.
We'll talk about that, yeah.
We have to talk about that before the season starts.
Oh, yeah. We'll have a total episode just dedicated to that. Yeah. And to close out the podcast, I just want to go over the badasses of season 2, like we did last time. If I miss anybody, just feel free to chime in. But I have Tyrion, who leads the Battle of Blackwater Bay. He's got to be number 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Of the badasses for the season.
Half man.
We also have Tywin, who is a badass through and through. Love that guy. The Hound, we kind of open up to him towards the end. Fuck the king. We have Bronn. I fucking love him. Doesn't wear armor, just has his dagger and his little sword.
He's like, but I'm quicker.
Robb Stark, also.
Yep.
He's a G.
Stoic.
Super. And then we also have Brienne.
And Davos.
Yeah, Sir Davos.
Sir Davos.
Hasn't done much this season.
He saw a shadow baby. I'm kidding. No. Hey, and he led the ship and his sons got nuked.
Yeah.
He was the admiral, remember?
Yeah.
But I love Davos.
Jock and Hakkar.
Jake and Hagar. Well, you know what? He was cool because it's like everyone he killed died in a great way. Like right before they give the letter to Tywin, the guy just dies, falls dead.
The poison dart. I think it was a poison dart, right?
Yeah.
And then the guy that
one falls or something.
Falls and he's just there like eating an apple, just like, oh, what happened?
No, yeah, definitely Jock and Hakkar. He is a badass.
And then him, like, he's like, all right, you're gonna escape, walk through the gates at midnight or whatever.
That was season 2 as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
And they get to the gates and they see all the guards there,
They're like,
and they're like, oh shit,
how are we gonna walk out in front of them? You
yeah.
know?
And then like they all notice that they're all dead, just propped up.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. That's fucking badass. Because he's a faceless, right?
Conspiracy. I'm just saying. I'm thinking out loud because it rubbed me the wrong way watching the whole season. did Jaqen H'ghar meant to get captured? Was he meant to find Arya? Because he could escape at any time. He's a faceless man. He could change his face.
He was on a mission.
Do we know what his mission is?
No, and everyone's dying to find out. I can tell. I mean, because I can kind of explain stuff because it does not happen in this TV show. Okay, after that, he takes the face of the alchemist. It's this guy that later in Old Town, some dude wants to have sex with this girl, right? So this alchemist tells him, okay, if you get me this book, I'll give you money so you can have sex with this girl. Well, the alchemist looks like the face Jaqen H'ghar takes. You know how he changes his face? That's just call him the alchemist. And the dude who wants to have sex with this chick, his name is Pate. So he goes to Old Town. He needs this book for some reason. So Pate steals the book and gives it to the alchemist. The alchemist gives him a poison coin and he dies. He becomes Pate and he becomes friends with Samuel Tarly. Oh. And that's all we know. That's all we know.
Fuck.
I mean, and it's also like this badass fucking move of like, hey, you want to fight me again? Take this coin. Take this phrase. Was it Valar? Yeah.
Valar.
Which means all men must die, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Take this coin and this phrase and just go to Bravos. Talk to any man. Tell them, give them this coin and tell them the phrase, and they'll get you. They'll connect you to me, like
because he was pretending to be a Kingsguard, and that's why I'm like, he could have left at any time.
Exactly. Like, we don't know what the mission is. And remember, the Faceless Men were probably responsible for the fall of Valyria. So they when they do a mission, it's like super covert.
They're like the SEAL Team 6 of fucking
of those times.
And again, notice again, it's something from Bravos. I'm telling you, Bravos has their fingers in everything. And look.
Ooh.
Ooh. And he was in the King's Guard. He was there guarding. He's an agent from Bravos. He got himself captured in King's Landing. And then was transferred, getting transported to the wall. So what was he really trying to get at the wall? Like, we don't know. Sorry, I get real excited. I'm
excited. The whole speculation, because I was like, what is he doing? I need to find out what was he doing? Because even in the show, since I've seen all those seasons, we still don't know what the fuck's up with this guy. Awesome.
All right, everybody. That does it for this episode of Song of Laugh and Death. We went over season 2, a little bit of season 1. Correct us in the comments if you have any corrections for us. Like what was we gonna do correction next episode if we need any. Let us know what you think about the video or our theories and our discussions here in the comments below. Find us on Instagram at Laugh and Death, Twitter at Laugh and Death Podcast. This is Alex, Fernie, our expert Manuel, and David.
Thank you, my lord.
And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yeah, hit that motherfucking bell. Over here, I think, maybe.
Dang. I can make it appear wherever you want it, doggy.
Right here. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. It's going to be quick zoom.
Share.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
My lords.
Vala Margulis.
Mother.
Vala Margulis.